G'day all, Ben here from East West. We're going to have a look at gold, silver, a little bit of FX in this video. Looks like the US dollar has just fought back a little bit as we close out the month, maybe not unexpected, a bit of end of month covering of shorts. But of course, now we move into September and we approach the beginning of the anticipated rate cutting cycle by the Fed. That will be important for everything. So let us jump in and take a look. So just starting off here with the dollar index, and coming into the end of the month here, it's had a pretty good pushback this week, a little relief bounce after it's really done a very good job of the measured move with the extended target, where it's just come down and hit that thing nearly perfectly, and it's bounced away. And so that's sort of coincided with the metals just stopping their rally a little bit. So of course we'll have a look at that because that's the whole point, but we're just trying to give some context here. What comes next with this? Well, coming into September is the anticipated start of the Fed rate cuts, the rate cutting cycle. And yes, like everybody else, I'm thinking we're going to get 20. Well, not like everybody. I'm thinking we're going to get 25. I don't think we're going to get 50. The market's still overpriced. Okay, the market, it's starting to pare back, but we were priced for 100 basis points before the end of the year. I think that's too aggressive. This is getting simple, right? We just want to see this. Okay, now something like that. Look, this isn't going to intersect, but the sort of intersection of the underlying wedge that we were looking at into the retracement zone and a hold, that would be the good telltale setup, I think, for trying to be short the US dollar. Now, obviously, the yen's a different kettle of fish, but I'm just watching the warning signs here now, because effectively what we've done here, right, is we've come to that test, we've just held. So that's the start of a potential upturn building block. We're not out of the woods here. I don't think that's going to happen, but I don't ignore the structures of the market. So all I can see here is that we've had a run up. We sort of came through the retracement. It's quite deep. So, I'm not as worried about that eventuating in terms of this sort of coming through, which is, means that the US dollar is finding some strength. But I'll just watch this coming back the other way. Okay, so what I want to see now is, of course, that confirms to me the view that this has got further to go, which I think it does. But like I said, I don't ignore the warning signs. So even just quickly looking at the euro, same thing, right? So I was looking for it to get. I still am, but I don't have any time frame. Okay, so just because if I said last week I'm expecting the market to get to here, that doesn't mean that necessarily I'm expecting to get it there next week, though sometimes I will say I'm expecting this next week. But in terms of this is broad macro movement, so I don't know when. I'm just what I'm anticipating is going to happen. So even with this euro, it looks to me now you could take this pivot. I probably wouldn't, because I think I'm looking at that. Okay, so that's done its measured move. So I'm coming off this pivot here, and I'm just going, okay, that's cool. I can definitely anticipate this coming back down to retest before we might come up and do something like that. Okay, so we'll see. But obviously the US dollar has fought back this week, which, like I said, coming into the end of the month after such a big move, it may make sense that people might take something off the table. Okay, but this has just helped to put gold and silver just cool its jets a little bit. So with that being said, let's just jump in and we'll take a look at gold and silver now. So this is where we left gold last week, and I was expecting that this week we would push a little bit higher, but that hasn't eventuated. We've gone into effectively a trading range. So the one thing I'm taking out of this, and this sort of little trend line that we were talking about, that's kind of failed now. So I'm just going to get rid of that. We do have, of course, the bigger trend line underneath. We've got to pay too much attention to that just yet. But we may in the not too distant future. We'll look at that. But now we're in a range. And the one thing I'm taking from that is it's good that the US dollar's had that bounce back, but we've more or less been holding the sort of areas that we were looking at last week. So let's just go in a bit closer. And so here's our range that we've established. Okay, so we've kind of terminated, for the moment, we've just kind of terminated this move up. Okay. We've just run out of puff, and you can see all these tops that have just come in here. So we do have now a reasonably good area of resistance coming in there. So that'll be something that has to be watched. But of course, the other thing we've got to keep an eye on, and this is what we sort of looked at last week, even though we did wick down through that. So maybe, just to be fair, you've got to encapsulate that a little bit. But we've got a little bit of room here that this could fall away, even though we've sort of got a double bottom here. But, the early movements next week of the US dollar are going to be important, because I think, if they feel like they need to take some more chips off the table and they're not as confident, they're going. I think it's almost a certainty that we're going to get a movement in September in rates. But the big question is how much more? Well, maybe we only get 50 this year, and if we get 50 this year, there'll have to be a lot of unwinding of price, and that could create a more major correction. But we can't. We just be on guard for that. We just do what the market's telling us to do. And we're just looking at this in the short term now, and we just want to see what's happened here through the week. So this was the main trade structure that we were looking at last week. Hoping for that, but it didn't eventuate. Okay, we've run into some overhead here, and the market is not being able to trend through that. Okay, so I think we were also looking at a pitchfork, but we've lost the geometry of the pitchfork now. So for me, it's kind of done. Pitchforking to me is more about geometry. We'd sort of move on from that right now. So we do have this trade this trade we have in place. We can come back to this pivot and come off this high. And once again, we are now holding in the smaller retracement area. So that, I don't think that doesn't, you don't need me to point out that's pretty crucial little area for us next week. Okay, so this trade is still on. Could you pitchfork this? I think not really, because I don't really think that we've got a very established trend here. I think that's reaching. So the problem is now we're ranging. Okay, so we're in a range. We can take the bottom here, but the chances are that we keep ranging. Okay. In that case, if you are going to buy it down here, and I wouldn't say that it's not a bad idea to buy it down here. You've got reasons to buy it down here, but just be aware that you don't want to buy it down here with a stop. You want to buy it with a pretty tight stop, because effectively what's happening here is we have run into this top multiple times, sort of around this 25-30 area, and we can't break it. Okay, so warning signs. We've held once down here just below 2,500. We've held twice below 2,500. Okay, we're waiting for one side to break, but if one side breaks, we just go with it. It doesn't matter what the US dollar is doing. It doesn't matter what our overall view is. We just go with whichever way it breaks. That's the way we go. Okay. So this setup is valid, but be aware, because of the way this is structured now, there is a chance we break down here, and just that US dollar, we're going to need it to turn around. So you could play the retracement game, or you could just sit here patiently waiting, and maybe you want to buy the break of the range, or buy the retracement after the break of the range. That would be how I'd play it. Elliott-wise, this is kind of still unfolding, but the only thing I'd think now is, I've sort of pointed out that what I think will be the trend structure, the Elliott structure, but I don't have any comment on the timing. Okay, so things stretch out. Elliott, price leads Elliott, not the other way around. Elliott is, you look back in time to see what has happened, to see if you can make a case for Elliott. So as I look at this now, I'm starting to think I would not expect this to be a wave 1 and then this to be a wave 2. I would not expect that. So what I'm thinking now is that this wave 4. Okay, so what I'm thinking is this isn't wave 4. Okay, I'm thinking more likely that wave 4 is going to come a little bit later now. So what I mean by that is I think this is the first leg of wave 4. This is the sort of corrective awful bounce, but we would have that a flat, and then I would think something like that. So maybe like a larger range comes into play. That's what I'm sort of, I wouldn't say I'm anticipating, but that's what I'm looking for. If I saw that, I'd be like, okay, well, yeah, I can see now that kind of makes sense, that we had, the ripping 1, we had the very sharp 2, we had the 3, now we're going to get a flat sideways 4 like that. So that's what I'm on the lookout for. So how I would use that is that, we were looking at this sort of little range that we're in. If that starts to then break down, I'd be looking at, can I get 5 waves that come down somewhere around here? Because if we came back to here, we're back into testing this sort of stuff. And that's not, that's not out of the question. Maybe that is how we go next week to complete that wave. So that's what I'd be looking for. Just as an aside, but agnostic. I will change my view. So maybe I'm incorrect in that thinking, and that we are going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, and we get that fifth wave up there. So we'll see how it pans out. But it's just roadmaps and plans. So right now, I don't think this is this. I'm sort of just anticipating we might get a bit of a tickle down here. Anticipating, not predicting. So this is kind of going against the grain of what I said, but just looking at this, right, if I was going to just structure something up to anticipate a move down here, I think, okay, well, what do we got? We got 1. Well, I've got 1. I've got a possible 2 that looks right. I've got a third wave that comes down through the zone, so I've got an extended move down. Now I'm getting a 4th. Okay, so what would I need to happen for me to anticipate more? Well, we're back into the area that I would expect of a wave 4 bounce. Okay, it may be a bit shitty. Okay, we might want something more like that. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that this was the top of wave 4. Well, that 1-to-1 would take us down to here. Okay, and that I could certainly live with that as a completed 5th wave. Something like that, and it could come down a little bit further maybe, but we just wait and see. We don't know. Okay, and that point, I'm thinking maybe 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 5, something like that. I'm not going to delve in. I think this is too messy. I'm not going to delve into it. I'm just going to stick to what I can see on the bigger picture. So there is that possibility, and then of course there is the possibility you get the extended 5th wave, which will bring us down more into that. So, I think really, I think that the simplest marker will be just the retracement out of here. Okay, if this proves to be the bottom, can we get above that? Okay, if we do, then I'm thinking, okay, I don't think this is, well, especially there, because that would constitute the bottom of any, here, that would constitute the bottom of any potential wave 1, I would think. So getting above, what's that, 25.10, that would sort of lead me away from thinking impulse down, there's more to come. I'd be more thinking, okay, well, we're still in this range. Okay, so we're still playing the range game. So then it'd just be a matter of waiting for the break either way, and then going from there. So that is kind of where I'm sitting with gold at the moment. Okay, so betwixt and between, when it ranges, it's always a little bit difficult. But we just watch the US dollar and watch the constituents of the dollar index. Okay, watch the yen, watch the euro, see what they do. If everything's going in concert, maybe you can then look around and have a crack at gold. Okay, so just coming across here to look at silver now, and this is one of the instances where just looking at some basic LEX structures, gave us a bit of a warning. Okay, so we talked about this area here. I mean, it didn't quite get as high as I wanted. So I was talking about $30 and sort of 40 cents as being, encroaching on the dangerous area. We only got up here to $30, just shy of $30.20. So we didn't quite get there, but now we've had quite a well-formed pullback, as you can see. So even as you come in here and bring in the RSI, the key here was that we had a divergent peak here. Let me just, between the top of wave 3 and the top of wave 5. So all that is telling you is that the market is making higher highs without the same amount of power in the up bars as we had in the preceding wave, which is kind of exactly what you would anticipate would happen at the end of a rally. Now, I was looking at a 1-to-1 move, but we didn't get it. Okay, it didn't quite go as far as a 1-to-1, but it's now it's given up. Now, is there a chance that this is a big extended 4 and we come up for a 5th? Always a chance. I don't know, because I can't tell the future. All I can do is draw a structure around what I can see right now. But the way that this is now formed, I'm looking at this, and I was talking about measured move plays and stuff on the way up. Sadly, there wasn't really a lot off this low. I just looked at it. We'll have a bit of a closer look, but I think what I'm trying to say is the general game plan now is looking at this and looking for something back towards here. So sort of back into this sort of mid to low or low 28s to high 27s. That's kind of becomes where I'd be interested in looking now. So, going hand in hand with the US dollar starting to turn and go a bit bearish again. But we don't know when that will happen. I just think it will happen at some stage, but we don't know when. So we just look for the signs. But this would be the kind of setup in silver that I'd be looking for, because this has told me this looks like a good 5-wave move. And just as an aside, one of the other ways you can sort of not predict the top of wave 5, but an area to look for the top of wave 5 is if you take a Fibonacci retracement from the top, and if you put the 38.2, if you're not expecting an extended wave 5, if you put the 38.2 right on the bottom of 4, well, that gave us a point here that started to line up with all this structure, okay, because maybe you could even take that, you know what I mean? But all this zone confluenced into that point where, you're like, okay, well, look, I think this looks a bit out of gas. And I was talking about this would be a bad place to go long. And luckily, you didn't even get a chance to do it. So this becomes the game plan. So now we just want to track whatever's going on through here. So this is going to be, I'll just box this out, okay, because this is going to be the zone that we're interested in. And I'll just get rid of this for the time being, okay? So let's get rid of that RSI. We don't need that for the moment. So now, of course, we are just tracking what's going on here. So far, what have we got? Okay, that's a pretty classic measured move, I would have thought. And you know what? You could have even come off this pivot. You could have said, okay, well, look, here's the first move down. Here's the correction. There's the move. Okay, so I'm going to use this pivot as my next sequence of swings, and that would have been just fine. I mean, it would have been betwixt and between, but basically, you had that sell zone there. Okay, and I actually did myself. I actually took this trade. I actually took a trade through here. Okay, so I took a different measured move trade that brought me into line down here. Okay, so it was a smaller one. I wasn't quite on the game. I was busy trading other stuff. But that was the main downdraft, okay, of the week. So because this has come down in 3 reasonably distinct waves, I'm on guard, I would say. I'm looking for the move down here, but will we get it? Will it drop that far? Well, this would represent 1-to-1. So it's going to have to go a little bit further than 1-to-1 to get down here, okay? But then even just coming in here and looking at this sort of structure, is this 1 and AB? Ooh, I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty ugly. How would you do this? Something like a 1, 2. Yeah, no, I wouldn't even go there. I don't know if I'd play Elliott through, the internal structures of this. I'd just be looking more at this going, okay, well, look, swing. We know that's a measured move. If it's going to do it again, what would we be looking for? Well, assuming this is the low, the next one would be like that. Okay, so yeah, I'd probably, just in terms of a structure, I'd like to see this come down a little bit further. Okay, I'm interested in this zone down here into the retracement. Okay, lining up with some of this stuff that, but I've got to wait, because look, the RSI too is also telling me that, look, this is short term. Okay, if we come up to the 4-hour, looks like we've got a little bit more room to go before we can get down there. So that's why I just say I'll just wait. Okay, the actual structure of the swing itself is alerting me that we've had 5 up. There's a good potential we've got 3 down here, like this. But I think at the end of the day, I would just be looking for a move that got above here. If it got above there, I'd be trying to take that retrace, because at that point, if we start breaking above here, okay, and then we start retracing, I would be thinking, okay, this correction's over. I'm now starting to look for 1, 2, 3, 4. Off we go again. That's what I would be thinking. So that remains the game plan. I'm looking for the move down to here, but I'm also wary that this could be bottoming out pretty soon, and if it starts doing that, then I'm looking to get long. So that is the play in silver this week. So I'll just leave it there. Thanks very much for watching. See you next week. Bye for now.